Hi, everyone. Maria Garcia here. I have some big news that I can't wait to share with you. I'm back with a new podcast, and this time it's a storytelling video podcast. It's called Muy Excited with Maria Garcia, and it's a new production from Futuro Studios and iHeart's My Cultura podcast network. Every week, I tell you the story of a cultural moment of the past or present and tell you what I believe it means. There's some really juicy storytelling, some revealing cultural analysis, and a lot of really fun moments. I'm going to reflect on questions like, why do some of us yearn for Shakira's black hair to make a comeback? Why did the power couple of my dreams, Mariah Carey and Luis Miguel, not work out? And here's one of our first episodes of Muy Excited. It's about the one and only Ricky Martin and how he has long served as a barometer of Latino belonging in the U.S. Remember that you can watch Muy Excited with Maria Garcia on YouTube. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to the show. You can find a link in the show notes. Okay, here's our first episode of Muy Excited with Maria Garcia. I want to tell you about a moment earlier this year. I was at my friend Ruby's house. We were gathered to watch the Benito Bowl. Apparently, there's some sort of sporting event happening at the same time. But we were sad for Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, okay? Well, we weren't exactly sad because all of us adults were standing in a semicircle entranced by the magic of Bad Bunny's performance. That start in the sugarcane fields, all the Latino vendors, the actual wedding. It was the joy, the nourishment we needed at the time. And then we see him, dressed in all white, his voice firm and smooth. It is the one and only Ricky Martin. Singing arguably one of the most political anti-colonial anthems of Bad Bunny's catalog, Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, a cry against statehood for Puerto Rico. And I am in awe of this moment. I know immediately the potency of the symbolism here. Here is the artist who most represents what some people called the Latin boom in the late 90s. The moment in history when U.S. audiences were suddenly like, oh gosh darn, look at these fiery Latins, they exist. And now, about 2.5 decades later, Ricky Martin stands before us, not performing in English to a white audience for recognition or acceptance. No, he stands before us singing a song of resistance in Spanish. And I stand there acutely aware that I would remember this moment for decades to come. That this was a touchstone moment not only for the long storied arc of Ricky's career, but for the complicated narrative of Latino belonging in the United States. And then my trance is interrupted by the choir of boys behind me. Who's that? Yells my 11-year-old son and his 2 best friends. And then all 3 of us moms turn around and yell, what do you mean? That's Ricky Martin. And the 3 preteens say, who's Ricky Martin? And then I realize I have failed my child. He has grown up knowing about Juan Gabriel, Tego Calderón, Selena, Prince, Kate Bush, and so many musical icons who paved a way. But I have done him a disservice by not teaching him about the man who had to live a vida loca so Bad Bunny could do lo que le da la gana. And I'm going to be honest, I feel that I have also failed myself. Because I've written a lot about the late 90s Latin boom, which that term is silly, and we're going to talk about how even Ricky knew it was a weird concept way back when. But anyway, I have written a lot about this historic moment, but I have very on-brand centered the divas of the moment, J-Lo, Shakira, the OG predecessor, Selena. And I have mentioned Ricky, but I have never gone deep on what he meant. Pero ya, no more. I'm gonna do right by my son, by all of y'all out there who may not know or who may have forgotten just how much this man did for the culture. Because let me tell you, whether you are Latino or queer or just someone who is trying to live more authentically, you have something to glean from Ricky Martin's life and legacy. This man was out here figuring things out on his own, surviving child stardom.
I want to talk to you because you are the cutest thing I have seen.
Being fetishized by American media.
He's been called the Puerto Rican Elvis, and you can understand why.
Scrutinized obsessively about his sexuality.
And with you, there have been the rumors that question or talk about your sexual orientation. You must be aware of these rumors.
Of course.
And ultimately, he stayed true to himself, to his roots, to his integrity. So let's fucking go. This one's for Ricky Martin. This is Muy Excited, the show where we explore cultural moments of the past and present. Today, the meaning of Ricky Martin's evolution. Enrique Ricky Martin Morales was born on December 24th, 1971, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. His mother was an accountant, his father a psychologist, and by the early 80s, he stars in commercials for Orange Crush soda.
Orange Crush. ¿Dónde está mi Orange Crush?
No me pude resistir.
And for Burger King.
Burger King lo prefiero.
I encourage you to watch this episode on YouTube so you can see how sweet he looks. In 1984, when Ricky is 12 years old, he joins boy band Menudo. He is teeny tiny when he joins the boy band, which is like a Latin American Jackson 5. We cannot gloss over Menudo. They were huge. Their fandom was very Beatlemania-esque, with mostly young girls screaming frenetically anytime they were close to the boy band. Menudo was such a cultural phenomenon that the band is seared into people's most formative memories. Here's my friend and La Brega editor, Laura Perez in Puerto Rico, who remembers when Ricky was introduced in the band.
I was 3 years old, and I remember vividly not only watching him, but what I felt, how it felt. It was so exciting, and how I thought he was the most beautiful boy.
You can see the frenzy when the band, including newly integrated Little Ricky, was a guest on one of Oprah's early TV shows.
I want to talk to you because you are the cutest thing I have seen. When you first knew that you were going to be picked to be in this group, what did you do to go home and celebrate?
Well, I first took all my parents to all my family.
Yes.
And then
Listen, don't purr back there. We got to hear it. All your family.
Ricky's hair is perfectly coiffed with layered strands framing his little face, and he looks doe-eyed, earnest, maybe a little nervous. His English still a bit halting.
And then we do a disco party.
You went to a disco party after that.
Oh, a disco party. Now, 12-year-old Ricky doesn't just join a boy band when he joins Menudo. He joins a strict, very regimented machine with a strategy on youth. Every member of Menudo was cycled out once they were 16 or 17, when their voices changed or they got facial hair. Menudo was a chronic youth group, but with the responsibilities and pressures of adults. Many years after Ricky's tenure in Menudo, other band members will say the band was riddled with abuse and untenable pressure. But Ricky has never said anything negative about Menudo on record. In fact, in the late 90s, he tells Rosie O'Donnell Menudo provided him with preparation.
Menudo was great. 5 years of intense discipline, of working a lot. You know, if I had to start all over again, I would do it because I guess I'm where I'm at today because of the discipline that I got being in a band like this.
So this is his entire adolescence. He sings in Spanish and English and French and Portuguese. He turns on the charm, and he is great at it. Other band members have said Ricky was like the golden boy of Menudo. And this is his life until 17 years old, when he inevitably ages out of the boy band. A couple years later, he puts out his first solo record in Spanish, self-titled Ricky Martin. We're going to include this video in our show notes so you can take a look at Ricky with his perfectly wavy beach locks, with an Adonis physique, shirtless with only a sleeveless open black vest hanging over his shoulders, and a big silver Gothic cross on his glistening chest. He's wearing wide-leg black jeans with a big belt buckle, and he is swaying those hips, smiling at the crowd. Honey, he is giving hot vampire muse, okay? Like the vampire Lestat would want to spend eternity with this man. Look, there's a lot to say about Ricky Martin's character and his kind heart and his long career, and we're going to get to all of that. But babe, we got to take a moment to just state the obvious. This man is absolutely gorgeous. Not to be weird, there are beautiful people out there, and then there are beautiful people. And he is beautiful in capital letters. Con mucho respeto, with love and admiration for my queer heart. You know, for me, Ricky was always in the background. And I grew up knowing he was massively successful and beautiful. But I feel like I took him for granted, you know? I was too obsessed with the divas. Just, you know, not realizing how gay I was. But when I spent hours going through archival videos of him for this episode, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a once-in-a-generation beauty. This is the kind of man who we'd find busts and sculptures of had he lived in Grecian times. So I could not do an episode on Ricky Martin without a proper acknowledgement of his beauty. Anyway, Ricky's first album is a major success in 1991. It's one of the highest debuts for a Latin artist under Sony. And at this point, he's on a roll. His second album skyrockets to the top of the Latin charts, and he's soon named Top New Latin Artist at the 1993 Billboard Music Awards. He then ventures into acting, does a sitcom role in English.
Here, I brought you this. Hope you like it.
And then, no big deal, he lands a regular character on General Hospital, one of the biggest soaps in the United States. He plays a singer named Miguel Mores.
I just found out a friend of mine has AIDS. The news has saddened me deeply.
By the way, Ricky later says he hated going to the General Hospital set. He doesn't feel comfortable. Remember, this is 1994, 1996. Our man is often the only Latino in the room. I imagine it's lonely. So he returns to his love of music, and he releases his third album with a chart topper, Maria. For all of you young ones watching who may think, oh, this is señora music, babe, let me school you a little, okay? First of all, señoras are cool, okay? Second, this song fused together flamenco, salsa, dance, and Afro-Caribbean rhythms. Was there at the time an industry push to use some of these sounds in Latin music? Yes. But I also think our primo Ricky Martin was out here evolving the pop song formula. This song is everywhere. And I think seeing Ricky become an international hit while being so legible as a Latino meant a lot to people. Here's Futuro senior producer and hardcore Ricky Martin fan Jeannie Montalvo, who was growing up in Georgia when this song came out.
God, I just remember that song blew my mind because I was discovering my Latinidad also as a teenager, having grown up in the most non-Latino place on the planet. And God, that song just meant everything to me.
Maria also solidified Ricky Martin not just as a beloved Latin American star, but a global pop king in the making. And then because he can, and he's a man of many talents, he's like, okay, I'm going to try Broadway now. And he plays a lead role, Marius Pontmercy, in Les Miserables. After Les Mis is when things get really cooking. Ricky returns to the studio for his fourth album, Vuelve, which lands him a Grammy nomination. And I'm not talking about a Latin Grammy. This was before the Latin Grammys ever existed. I'm talking mainstream English Grammys. Ricky Martin is set to perform at the award in 1999, actually. He's going to sing The Cup of Life, his FIFA World Cup song, which, by the way, has been hailed as the best World Cup anthem of all time. And he absolutely devours. Oh, I can't play you the song here, but I have a video about it on my Instagram. Maria is muy excited with underscores between every word. This is a historic performance. The music industry, including the Grammys themselves, officially recognize this moment as the defining event that ushers in what people call the so-called Latin boom. I really can't overstate what a momentous performance this is. I asked Futuro senior producer and Ricky Martin loyal fan Jeannie Montalvo again to describe what it was like watching this on TV.
Like, I remember standing in my living room watching as these, like, estos tambores, like, came down the aisles at the Gringo Grammys. This was before the Latin Grammys, the last year before the Latin Grammys were inaugurated. And, like, people were so excited.
So naturally, we get to the era of Ricky Martin you probably remember, when he was living la vida loca and becomes the first Latino to debut a song at #1 on the U.S. Billboard 200 chart. He draws the largest crowd in the history of the Today Show up to that point.
He's been called the Puerto Rican Elvis, and you can understand why. These crowds are reminiscent of those that gathered when Elvis Presley was the hottest guy on the scene, and probably when the Beatles.
Ricky appears on the cover of Time magazine and Rolling Stone and also New York magazine, Interview magazine, People, Teen People, and Entertainment magazine. And Ricky Mania is real. Here he is on the Rosie O'Donnell show the day his English album releases.
I've recorded in many languages, but come on, English is so important.
And then let me tell you something. America is in love with you.
All right.
That's important. I want you to remember that. Ricky saying how essential it is to sing in English. But let's get something clear. Even at the height of English Ricky Mania, he is adamant he'll never abandon Spanish. Here's Ricky with Jay Leno.
I will not stop singing in Spanish.
Right.
It's my mother tongue.
Pero now that he is considered a pop star in the United States, well, American journalists start prying into some rumors about Ricky.
You know, you could stop these rumors. You could say, as many artists have, yes, I am gay.
We'll be right back with, guess what? Another cringy interview from the 2000s. And also the not cringy way Ricky Martin responds and rises. It is the year 2000, a year we love on this show, and Ricky Martin releases his second English album, Sound Loaded, with the hit lead single, She Bangs. We need a moment to talk about this video. The premise is hot, horny underwater club, and it starts with some really fine octopus men. No, literally, half-naked men with CGI octopus tentacles. Most everyone in the video is half naked, actually. Kind of twerking, there's some girl-on-girl grinding. Almost everyone has a certain look on their face, lip half raised, looking a little feral. At one point, Ricky is laying down with his shirt open, with various hands rubbing his body, his blue jeans unbuttoned, and he's making all kinds of faces. I can't play you the music in this episode because of copyright laws, but if you follow me on Instagram, I have a reel showing you this risky video and explaining why I think it's the predecessor of a certain Bad Bunny song. I'm at Maria is muy excited on Instagram with underscores between each word. Anyway, the conventional thinking of this time is that artists have to cross over to the English market. No one in this era, or at least that I can remember, really challenged this notion in a big way. And you know, it's very clear that Ricky is treated by US media as a sort of hot Latin lover trope. But you know, when I see She Bangs, I don't see a Latino artist necessarily pandering to a trope. I think that would be a lazy take. Is there maybe some artistic engineering around his image? Like, does his team maybe play up his strengths, i.e., he's beautiful and sexy and an amazing dancer, and creating this really exciting fusion music? Yes. Does US media then take all this and play into a trope? Also, yes. Billboard magazine called him a hot tamale, which tamales are Mexican, and also the singular of tamales is tamal, a grammatical hill I will die on, a personal pet peeve of mine. But anyway, grammatically incorrect cliches aside, the coverage around Ricky feels charged at this time. In most notably a now infamous interview, also from 2000.
And with you, there have been the rumors that question or talk about your sexual orientation. You must be aware of these rumors.
Of course.
When Barbara Walters tries to make him come out.
You know, you could stop these rumors. You could say, as many artists have, yes, I am gay. Or you could say, no, I'm not. Or you could leave it as you are, ambiguous. I don't want to put you in the spot, but it's in your power to do it. And I'm bringing it up, Ricky, because you know that this is being said,
and thank you so
and you're
much
even being named.
for giving me the opportunity to express the rumors. But Barbara, for some reason, I just don't feel like it.
I love that answer. I just don't feel like it. That should be enough. And it feels like it was an answer that was ahead of its time. Why would he come out on her terms in an ambush moment? And I love that he centers his feelings. I don't feel like it. New mantra, babe, I don't feel like it, period. You know, now coming out is kind of antiquated in some circles. Thank goodness a lot of queer people nowadays don't need to come out because, well, they were never living in a heteronormative straight reality. But babe, in 2000, the entire public world was a heteronormative straight reality. And coming out was a big deal. It was risky and could hurt your livelihood. Not to mention the emotional scarring of someone trying to force you on national television to come out. Ricky wrote this in his memoir, quote, "It was a topic I constantly struggled with, one that caused me a lot of pain and anxiety. And every time someone wrote in an article that I was a homosexual, or each time this was asked of me in an interview, and not very subtly, it pushed me further away from my truth. The rumors and questions only increased my insecurity and my self-rejection. They reminded me of all the reasons why I was uncomfortable in my own skin. At times, I felt I hated myself because it was always presented under such a negative lens. As something scandalous and bad, it reinforced my desire to deny." Oh, Ricky, we love you. Coming off of Ricky Mania and his massive success in the US, Ricky releases a couple more albums, one in Spanish, another in English. In 2008, he becomes a dad, welcoming 2 baby boys. He talks about loving being a dad. And it really suits him because there's always been something really tender and caring about Ricky. We really see this in 2010. Inspired by his children and the legacy he wants to leave for them, he comes out through a statement on his website. It's a long statement, so I can't read it all, but I really encourage you to. It's quite touching and earnest. Let me read you some excerpts. Quote, "To keep living as I did up until today would be to indirectly diminish the glow that my kids were born with. Enough is enough. This has to change. This was not supposed to happen 5 or 10 years ago. It's supposed to happen now. I am proud to say that I am a fortunate homosexual man. I'm very blessed to be who I am." I am blessed to be who I am. Wow. You are, Ricky. We all are. What a pioneer. The next year, in 2011, Ricky releases Música, Alma, Sexo, which is a critical hit. A few years later, he stars as a coach on The Voice Australia. He releases another album in 2015, which wins a Grammy for Best Latin Pop Album. He gets married, then divorced, does some acting. And in 2019, when Puerto Rico's governor was exposed for homophobic text messages, including about Ricky himself, Ricky Martin flew home and was one of a few cultural figures who joined hundreds of thousands of protesters, forcing the governor to resign. Here he is protesting in a clip from Bloomberg News. I want to contrast this moment in 2019 when he's protesting with a point he makes in his memoir. He writes, quote, "I think that one of the reasons why I found it so hard to accept myself was because in my profession, I have often been considered to be a Latin idol, a pop star, and for some, a sex symbol. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that I'm Latin or it has to do with the global image of the, quote, Latin lover, but I always had the feeling that certain things were expected of me, among which was the fact that I was supposed to seduce and allow myself to be seduced by women. Maybe if there had been another artist, another Latin idol who had come before me, I might have been less afraid. But the reality is that I didn't have a role model, and that, in my mind, helped make the whole thing entirely inconceivable." End quote. I bring up this quote because the so-called Latin boom was both a touchstone for Latinos, but also harmful. I believe that the way Ricky Martin was framed prevented him from being the full-dimensional person he is. And he had to write the script on his own. How to come out, and to come out with a message of self-love and celebration. How to come back to singing in Spanish to his original audience, to his artistic roots, even after the crossover success. How to be very publicly Latino without pandering to the reductive notions of Latinidad of the time. And look, did he always do perfect? No.
Ask me, how do I feel? Ask me.
How do you feel, Ricky?
Crazy.
But I believe Ricky Martin's legacy changed the game. I'm not trying to be cute when I say Bad Bunny is able to be as free, as unapologetic as he is because of the iterative and very real progress Ricky Martin made. Remember when Ricky Martin said this?
I've recorded in many languages, but come on, English is so important.
Isn't it kind of stunning that we went from that to Bad Bunny in just 2+ decades saying this about singing in English?
I don't care.
That clip, by the way, is from an interview with the New York Times' Popcast. I don't think we could have gone straight to Bad Bunny's defiance. Ricky Martin had to set the stage, not just as an artist, but also as a queer person. I think of how Juan Gabriel couldn't really come out a generation before. And then Ricky Martin did, but with a lot of controversy leading up to it. And now artists like Young Miko can be as queer as they want on stage. People don't necessarily have to come out all the time anymore because queer elders like Ricky once had the courage to do so. Or, for example, Jenna Ortega can be as goth and as eccentric as she wants. Latinos are less and less beholden to the fiery mommy or hot Latin lover trope. I believe Ricky Martin played a key role in that cultural evolution. Art has lineage, queerness has lineage, and Ricky Martin, in my opinion, is an important elder in both of those lineages. Maybe a zaddy elder. But really, I think 100 years from now, Latinos will use Ricky Martin's long career arc to understand belonging and history in this country. Or actually, I think we can take it beyond that. I think Ricky Martin's legacy, as our producer Brittany Cronin pointed out to me, shows the evolution of Latinos and queer people beyond belonging in the U.S. And the key to understanding this is in Ricky's performance of Lo que le pasó a Hawaii at the Super Bowl. This is arguably the most high-profile anti-colonial anthem of our time. It's a cry against statehood, it's a rally for resistance, and I want to talk about the specific section Ricky sings. No suelten la bandera, ni olviden el lelolai, que no quiero que hagan contigo lo que le pasó a Hawaii, he sings. The lelolai is a traditional vocal improvisation sung by jibaros. The song is imploring Puerto Ricans to hold on to cultural specificity, to collective memory, to identity as resistance. And Bad Bunny in the song is not asking to belong in or to the United States in any way. In fact, Lo que le pasó a Hawaii is the opposite. It is saying we do not want to belong. We want to hold on to what is ours. And how powerful to have Ricky Martin sing this verse. The artist who the industry, in a way, forced to belong to the American mainstream, insisting on framing him within these tropes of Latinidad, hot, straight, Latin lover, that flattened his dimensionality. But no more. What a joy it is to see him break free from those stereotypes. And because he has given all of us, including my son, who will know who Ricky is, permission to do the same. And in this way, we all owe Ricky Martin. That was episode 1 of Muy Excited. If you enjoyed it, you can find the next episode available right now in the show feed. It's about the storied history of the magical Chihuahua dogs from indigenous Mexico to Paris Hilton's purse. I'm sure you're not going to look at these puppies in the same way ever again after you listen to that episode. And if you want to watch our episodes, which I really, really encourage you to, they're so much fun, just click on the link in the description or search for Muy Excited with Maria Garcia on YouTube. See you there, babes.